All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our customer community joining us today. I'm Gigi Anderson from Acquia. Last week, Acquia launched our open digital experience platform, and we could not be more excited to welcome you to today's webinar and conversation on the new era for Acquia customers, product strategy, alignment, and growth. Today, I'm joined by a spectacular group. We have Dries Bijtaert, founder and project lead of Drupal, and Acquia's co-founder and CTO, Lynn Capozzi, Acquia's CMO, and Kevin Cochran, SVP of Product Marketing at Acquia. And on the next slide, you'll see our speakers' fantastic faces. And I know that you're going to be in store for a really wonderful hour. If you have any audio issues, please send them to the Q&A tab and I'll assist you. And if you have questions for our presenters, please submit them to the Q&A tab as well, and they'll be answered at the close of this presentation. Slides and recording of this webinar will be posted to acquia.com and also sent to you via email in the next 24 hours, so please keep an eye out for that. Today we have a very exciting agenda for you. First, we're going to hear how we got to our Open DXP vision and talk through Acquia's product vision and roadmap on the heels of our launch last week. You'll then get an introduction to Acquia's new Open DXP. You'll hear how we're bringing this vision to market, in addition to some great customer examples. And then we'll close with Q&A with Dries, Kevin, and Lynn. So without further ado, I would love to pass it over to Dries.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Nice to talk. We are going to talk a little bit about Acquia's new vision or updated vision. It's very much an evolution of what we have been doing, but there are some new things, and we wanted to run you through some of that. So, first, let's talk a little bit about what's been happening in the market and what has been changing. But as you can see on this slide, over the past 10 years, we have been investing quite a bit in IT and marketing stacks with the goal to drive customer engagements across channels. And IoT, for example, the Internet of Things, is really growing fast and is actually changing the way customer interacts with brands. There's more screens and gestures and voice and chatbots, basically like a whole new world of possibilities, but also a world of new challenges that we have to work through. And so one of the key things that is the result of that is that nowadays customers want to connect with brands everywhere using all of these different devices. And so it's something that we need to think about in terms of how do we leverage these channels to provide great customer experiences. If you go to the next slide, you can see that, and maybe this is a side effect of IoT, if you will, or one of the side effects, but because of all of these new devices and the evolution of technology, there's also a lot more data. And that actually allows us to really think through how do we want to personalize the delivery of experiences, leveraging all of that data. And you can see the quote here on the screen, but 81% of consumers, they actually want brands to understand them better. They want us to leverage that data to understand their preferences and their intents to help deliver a much more personalized experience. And so that's pretty exciting trend as well. And last but not least, there's also an explosion, if you will, of different customer experiences. And as these experiences grow and there's more and more of them, the need for consistency and dependability is more important than ever. And you can see that on the next slide, that digital dependability is the #1 driver of brand trust. So in this race to innovate across different brands and regions and even business units within your organization, it's important not to lose sight of designing experiences that are consistent, right? So that one interaction between a customer and your brand is consistent and recognizable with the next interaction. And that trickles all the way down the stack in terms of security, compliance, performance, all that kind of stuff. So you really need a platform that protects you against security threats and compliance, but that can also deliver good governance and consistency for marketers. And so all of these trends have been around for quite some time, I would say. Like, none of the things that I just mentioned are new. But because of COVID-19, there is actually a tremendous acceleration of this transformation, of the adoption of these trends. There's a great survey result here on the next slide that says that before COVID-19, so before 2020, 8% of the companies felt ready to compete and survive in a digital first world, meaning embracing some of these things that I just mentioned. But because of COVID-19, there's some sort of flash digital transformation. A lot more organizations need to embrace or accelerate that digital transformation to keep up with the new world. So, you know, that's pretty exciting, obviously, for many of us and for a company like Acquia, because we do believe we can help many of our customers. Now, what prevents organizations typically from really reimagining these customer experiences is effectively silos. And we try to visualize that in the next slide. But if you think about the typical organization that works with all of these different technology platforms, content management systems like Drupal, but also email marketing systems, CRM system, e-commerce systems, all of these systems are basically content, data, and organizational silos. So content lives in each of these systems, and it's hard to move content around between these systems. You literally have to copy paste content between these platforms that I mentioned. And the same is true for data. Each of these systems learn about users. They learn what they like, what they don't like, what their intents are. But it's been really hard to share that data across a CMS and email marketing solution, social media platforms, et cetera. And that is actually represented or demonstrated in how organizations are organized as well. Most organizations, and I bet the same is true for many of your organizations, you have a web team, you have a social media team, you may have an e-commerce team. And so not only is there content and data silos, but just the organizational structure also often makes it really hard to build really, really great digital experiences. And so at Acquia, we believe that a new approach is needed, that we need to break these barriers, and that in order to accelerate the creation of digital experiences, we need an open approach. Basically, we believe in open, and open means a lot of different things for us, right? Open means that you use open source. It means you use open APIs. It means you can integrate. It means you are best of breed and you can bring different solutions to the table. And so open source unlocks your content, it unlocks your data. And we believe that being open should be at the core of digital experience creation. And so the way we are going about that is by having an open DXP. And on the next slide, you can see sort of the big building blocks of an open DXP. So first, you see content and data towards the bottom of the screen. And we believe that content and data, and this is user profile data, are the two building blocks. Like, it's not enough to just have great content. And similarly, it's not enough to just have great data. You need to have great content and you need to really have good data so that you understand your customers. And you want to be able to, share that content with, you want to get the content from different sources, basically. And similarly, you want to get your data from different data sources. So APIs here are pretty important. But once you have great content and once you have great data, the holy grail is to deliver the right content to the right user at the right time on the right channel using the right modality, right? And so there's a matchmaking that needs to happen to do that. And that's where the machine learning and the orchestration becomes so important. The machine learning helps us figure out what content to deliver to what user, and even allows us to figure out when to deliver it, what channel to use. But machine learning alone, probably won't give you the best user experiences or customer experiences. There is an art and a science to these things, and that's where the orchestration comes in as well. So the orchestration allows you to set up customer journeys across all of these channels, across all of these devices, in combination with the machine learning. So, and we want all of that to be open. So that means open sort of on the front end. So you can bring your own channels, your own devices, even things like digital kiosks and phones and chat, other applications, but it also needs to be open on the back end, if you will, because you want this platform to integrate with everything else that you have in your organization, including your support systems, your CRM systems, your other marketing tools that you have. It's only when you're able to have these kinds of integrations on the back end that you can deliver great digital experiences. And so again, that requires openness on both sides of this diagram. All right, so let's talk about that a little bit more. So the first thing that I want to talk about is content silos and why those are a problem. And we refer to that as sort of the quicksand problem. And what we mean by that is that when you have all of these different content repositories, many different sites, email marketing tools, you name it, all these things that store content, when that content is siloed in different systems, it can really sort of hurt your velocity. Getting new content out of the door becomes a lot of back and forth between multiple teams where you have to email things around or copy paste. And very often, like these systems or IT, gets in the middle of that. I talk to a lot of, prospects, and it's not unusual for them to tell me like, well, it takes us 2 months to publish something on our website, right? And so it's a great example of a quicksand problem, where it just takes too long, and teams are always kind of like playing catch up, and they're kind of sinking further and further behind instead of accelerating and creating more and better digital experiences. They're just really struggling to keep up. And so for CMOs, I believe the challenge is clear. So it's this inability to quickly react to changing market requirements, or to, even do things like COVID-19 happens, and how do you react to that super quickly within days versus weeks or months? But for CIOs, it's also a challenge, right? You have constantly changing market requirements. You want to innovate. You want to do all of these things, but it's hard to do when you have all of these different systems. So basically, quicksand is the result of sort of, for lack of a better term, sort of an operational mess, where your team is stuck and, maintaining all these different things, and innovation is really hard. And so the solution is to unlock content. And there's different parts of unlocking content, but first, we believe you need to open up to, sort of crowdsourced innovation or open source innovation. If you use Drupal, obviously you have access to all of these modules or plugins, and thousands of those that are pre-built connectors that can really help you get content in and out of these different platforms, which is pretty great. You also want to open up the backend and the front end systems, as I explained, and enable developers to rapidly build and integrate. And you can do that, again, through Drupal's modularity and web services support. You want to have, we call it open composable content, where content can be reused and can be outputted in, let's say, HTML or JSON or XML, so that it can be the input for all of these different devices, right? So you want to create content and content models once, and then reuse them and parts of that to build new experiences. You also want to open or be open to empower marketing to very quickly build and deploy new experiences with tools that are low code, no code, that just allows you to go faster. And again, these tools need to, be open and composable so that you can go quick, and you want to reuse design elements or use design systems, again, using these open systems and tools. So that's what we mean with unlocking or opening up your content so that you can build new great digital experiences. And that's where we have the Drupal cloud. That's where the Drupal cloud comes in. And you can see sort of on this slide, where the Drupal cloud, because it's using Drupal, has reusable content, supports composable experiences, allows all of these different services and modules, and allows IT to innovate. If you go to the next slide, we're talking about the Drupal cloud here, yeah. And so, yeah, not much to add, I guess, on this slide. So next, let's talk about these data silos, right? You have content silos and you have data silos, as we mentioned. And we refer to this as the labyrinth as a problem. And I think you all know the problem. It's hard when customers engage everywhere with your brand, and when you can't really keep track of all of these different touch points. And when the technology isn't integrated and you have these data silos, it's really hard to deliver a great customer experiences. And I see this all the time. You may know or recognize that I have a funny accent, and that's because my main language is Dutch. And so it happens quite a bit where I go to, let's say, a website, and the website allows me to set my language of choice. And let's say I set it to Dutch, right? And that's great. The website will switch to Dutch. But then literally the next day, I could receive an email in English, right? And so it's a great example of sort of a data silo where these systems don't talk to each other. They're not integrated. And in this case, for me, it's not a big deal, as I can read and read English and understand English, but can tell you that's not always the case. Not everybody is fluent in English. And so when these systems are not connected, it can be a real showstopper for the experience. And so you can imagine the impact, can be pretty dramatic. And so this is kind of what we call the labyrinth problem, right? You don't get the experience you want, and it can be a showstopper depending on the situation. So you don't want that. You don't want the labyrinth. And so the solution is to unlock data and to open up these personalized journeys. So just like you have to open up and unlock content, you also have to unlock your data. So what does that mean? Well, it means a number of different things. First, you need to open up sort of all of this data to the data analysts. You can see that as one of the boxes here. And so the analysts, they want to have instant access to all of the data. And to do so, they also need these pre-built connectors that can integrate with different systems, right? So, because that's how you get the data in and out. And once you get the data in and out, you're able to build like a 360 profile of your customers. And so you need to open up those kinds of insights across all of the backend technologies. And that can be hard because you actually need to stitch together profiles, that come from different data sources, and they may have different IDs like maybe different email addresses or different ways to uniquely identify customers. And you want to dedupe and normalize and clean up a lot of that content along the way to create a really good, rich, but accurate 360 profile. Once you have all of that data, these profiles, often you have millions of them, and you really need to open to machine learning so that everyday marketers can, do magic, if you will, with machine learning. They need to remove sort of the bottlenecks with data science and trying to understand what's really going on with all of my data, and leverage machine learning technologies to provide automation that that just kind of relieves them. Next, I think you need to open to empower marketing so that they too have kind of a single place to create and orchestrate multi-channel campaigns. Again, like, you don't want to have 7 different user interfaces to try and create a user experience. You want to do it from a single UI that opens up all of these channels to you. So that's why you need to unlock data. And guess what? The Marketing Cloud actually allows you to do just that. So in the next slide, you can see our Marketing Cloud. It will help you drive business results. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about converting customers and making customers happy. And that machine learning, that 360 user profile, it will increase customer engagement and loyalty. And as a result, it will drive better operational efficiencies, but also better business results. So that's the Marketing Cloud. And obviously, we have been working on this for quite some time. We did acquisitions along the way. You can see on the next slide, just at a high level, some of the key new capabilities that we've launched in the first 6 months. I'll highlight just a few, but for developers, obviously we helped launch Drupal 9, which was a big deal. We also launched Cloud IDEs, which is basically a complete developer environment in the cloud. So you no longer have to set up a local development environment, which can be hard for developers. It's all right there with integrations and debuggers, that kind of stuff. We have Site Studio now, which is exciting. That was formerly called Cohesion, but it allows this no-code, low-code site building, really empowering less technical people, marketers, to go faster. We continue to invest a lot in FedRAMP. We have the highest security and compliance standards in the industry. On the Marketing Cloud side, we continue to invest in machine learning capabilities. We can now do things like automatically predict the best time to send an email to a user, as an example. We have Site Studio. Again, we have Mautic 3, which was recently released. We made it a lot easier to use Campaign Studio or Lift. And we've actually integrated all of the products in the Marketing Cloud. So we now have connectors between Agile 1 and Lift and Mautic and Agile 1. And so user profile information is shared. So if we learn something about a user in Lift, that information ends up in Mautic. That information also ends up in Agile 1, and sort of vice versa. So lots of great things happening, and we have a lot to come too for the next 6 months of the year. We're working on an Acquia CMS, which is our opinionated version of Drupal. We keep adding self-service capabilities, to our platform. We're working on better email builder for the Marketing Cloud, unified analytics across all of the different products in the Marketing Cloud. So you can literally see a user journey across all of the channels and products. Pretty excited about that. Keep adding new machine learning models, things like that. Happy to answer questions about it later, but that's kind of at a high level what we're working on. And next, I'll give the floor to Kevin.
Great. Thank you so much, Dries. And as you noted, we're very excited about the new Drupal Cloud and the new Marketing Cloud and the promise that it can help make to our customers to unlock content, unlock data, and help them better engage customers across channel and devices and modalities for a new digital first reality. What's interesting is we also want to share with you some customer conversations that we've had recently for people that were struggling to make the digital first shift. And I'll highlight two scenarios that we recently spoke about. The first scenario was a customer that was very concerned about how their size and scale and complexity as a business really impedes them from moving as fast as new digital first startups. In their world, they operate in a federated model, different brands, different teams, different regions, and the ability for them to centrally enforce certain standards around the digital experience related to scalability, performance, security, availability, and more was difficult to impossible. For them, each and every time they needed to deal with a denial of service attack, each and every time they needed to deal with a new compliance regulation, they had to work individually with a separate brand, a separate team. And unfortunately, the size and scale and complexity of doing that was difficult to impossible. On the other example, we recently spoke to someone who had a very centralized model, good governance, good scalability, good availability for all centralized systems. The problem, however, is in a post-COVID-19 world, regional teams and separate brands needing to move very, very fast went outside the workflow of the central governance team, and as a result, wound up having rogue acts of IT and rogue acts of marketing. Both of these problems are different aspects of what we call the HYDRA problem, which is in a new digital first reality, it's incumbent upon brands to be able to get the benefit of the size and scale and of their global operations, and also to ensure good governance of those global operations to meet new and emerging and ever increasing risks related to security, related to compliance, and related to delivering maximum uptime and availability for users that are now spending more time online than ever. We call this problem the HYDRA problem for the simple reason that for global brands, each and every time we try to establish good centralized global governance, it seems like every single region, every single team suddenly spins up some new website, some new web application, some new campaign, rogue acts of IT, rogue acts of marketing that simply lock up more content, lock up more data, and expose us to ever greater risks from a security and a compliance perspective. So what we are seeking to do here as well with our Open DXP is give you the best of both worlds. A federated model where you can indeed enforce central governance so that you can live up to your brand promise. A dependable brand experience, a trusted brand experience, a governed brand experience, a brand experience that ensures that all of your content and data is unlocked and available everywhere worldwide, but also at its core is available to your consumers, is secure, and is compliant with all new and emerging local market regulations. What we really believe is the last silo to unlock is an organizational silo. And unlocking an organizational silo means giving people freedom within a framework, allowing all local teams, all local brands, the capability to control their own destiny, empower everyone, but centrally control everything from a risk mitigation and a governance perspective. What this means with our Open DXP is we want to afford a new experience to both the CIO and the CMO to put brand trust and brand dependability at the heart of your digital first brand experience. For CIOs, this basically means having a centralized digital stack that can be rolled out globally for all of your local teams to meet any of their digital initiative needs. Centralized stacks of pre-approved, pre-built modules and integrations that you can use for B2C commerce or B2B commerce, an employee portal, an HR portal, a customer portal, a partner portal. All pre-approved, all locked down, secure, compliant, but able to be tailored to each and every local regional team's needs. And of course, we want to provide a central platform for actually hosting and scaling this. In a post-COVID-19 world, people are spending more time online than ever. Internet traffic is surging, and so too are security threats in the form of denial of service attacks. And unfortunately, if consumers are spending more time online than ever, they still require that same availability, that same speed to load for all of your digital sites and all of your digital applications. And so what we seek to do now, in particular, with some of our new innovations with Acquia Edge, is to ensure that we can leverage the power of data and machine learning to automatically detect areas of mitigated performance, so we can automatically reroute traffic and ensure a consistent delivery of the brand experience, regardless of what's happening with internet traffic, regardless of what's happening with emerging security threats and denial of service attacks. Also, for the CMO, we want to bring the benefits of a centrally governed yet locally managed digital stack to the marketing realm. As we all know, all of the individual silos and point applications of MarTech are exacerbated when you look at all of the myriad MarTech investments on a global basis. It's not just that you might have one instance of a marketing automation system in a central New York office. You probably have 20 contracts for marketing automation systems across operations in Singapore and in Sydney and more. What this basically means from a CMO's perspective is the ability to centrally govern and manage core best practice global digital campaigns is impossible. And so what we seek to do with our new Acquia Campaign Factory is to be able to allow you to establish that same digital stack for your MarTech stack, so you can have all of the brand compliance, all of the security, and all of the governance, and be able to replicate that globally so that each of the local marketing teams can actually have the tools that they need and the infrastructure that they need to manage all of their local marketing campaigns, all within a centrally governed global construct. And what this means is that for brands today, they can, for the very first time, get the benefits of leveraging global scale while moving fast at a local brand or local regional level to move to a new digital first reality and actually have all of the built-in scalability, performance, security, and compliance from the get-go. So this is the new Acquia Open DXP, and we're very excited to continue the conversation with the customers I previously mentioned, and hopefully with all of you and others around the globe. We believe pretty strongly in this new digital first reality that security, compliance, and governance are at the core of the digital experience, and unlocking organizational silos is the last step that's needed to fully unleash the power of open content and open data. So the Open DXP is now come together. As Dries noted, we've unified data across our marketing clouds, integrating our acquisitions, and then uniting them with the world of content with Drupal Cloud. For all of you in our customer community, one of the important things to note is that upon the integration of our marketing cloud, we have done some name changes for some of our acquired products. For example, we recently acquired Agile One. Agile One is the world's #1 customer data platform. Agile One is now referred to as Acquia Customer Data Platform. It is the core data foundation of Marketing Cloud. We also recently acquired Mautic, the world's first open source marketing automation platform. Mautic has now been renamed to Acquia Campaign Studio. We also, as part of our Mautic acquisition, acquired a very innovative platform for actually replicating marketing stacks across global operations. Maestro is now renamed to Acquia Campaign Factory. Also, for many of you in our customer community that are using Lift, Lift is now Acquia Personalization. So together, Acquia Customer Data Platform, Campaign Studio, Campaign Factory, Personalization, and DAM form our unified marketing cloud. On the Drupal cloud side of the business, we also have some similar name changes. So the most important name change for all of you is our acquired technology from Cohesion is now called Acquia Site Studio. It is the analog of Acquia Campaign Studio. Acquia Site Studio is very important because it is the new user experience for marketers for Drupal Cloud. A new radical solution that really unleashes the power of marketers to control not only content and presentation for all digital experiences, but most importantly, control the digital design of how those presentations are optimized for fluid experiences across screens and modalities. The last major name change on the Drupal Cloud side, a very simple one, Acquia Cloud is now referred to as Acquia Cloud Platform. And with that, I would like to introduce our CMO, Lynn Capozzi, to help us understand how our marketing organization is bringing our open DXP vision to market.
Thanks, Kevin. Hello, everyone. Nice to be able to talk with you today. You know, as a CMO, I spend a lot of my time talking with business leaders and other CMOs. Many of you, I think, included in that. And I'm hearing something that's consistent, which is, you know, we've all been forced to accelerate digital transformation due to the rapid change in the past few months. And I know that while the urgency to become digital first feels like a challenge for many, there's also opportunity there, right? For companies to really deliver on the business drivers that we all face today. You know, things like having a faster time to market and time to revenue and time to compliance. So I wanted to share with you a few examples of customers who I think are doing just that. In addition to sharing my own experiences as a CMO and as a customer of our own Acquia products. So I'm going to walk through some examples for you. But first I wanted to talk about something from McKinsey. So McKinsey's been doing, I think, a tremendous job during COVID of having some great information through surveys, information that they're gathering. And one of the data points that they discovered is that 70% of execs said that the pandemic is likely to accelerate the pace of the digital transformation. So what used to be kind of in the 1 to 3 year plan is now earlier than 1 year. What used to be in the 1 year digital plan has now been moved up into let's get it done in the next 6 months, being pushed from CEOs to get that done. So the other data point I'll share with you, which I thought was interesting, is McKinsey did a study back in the financial times, crisis times of 2007 to 2009. And what they discovered was those organizations that spent their time increasing and improving the customer experience paid off later on in profitability. So it's some interesting study. If you're looking for some studies to help with your own business case internally of why do more digital and why focus on a customer experience, you might want to turn to that. I've been referring a lot of people to that. So, you know, next slide. Yesterday was all about expensive proprietary suites. Today, as you're hearing, is all about our open DXP platform, which is faster to implement, easier to manage, built to work with best of breed apps. So you don't have to choose between some apps. You'll be able to choose with those best of breed apps. So you don't get locked into a suite where it does some things well and other things poorly. So a modern open DXP is the way I'm thinking about it, that hopefully will fit within what your organization needs. In the new reality of digital, how our organizations we work with actually doing it, how are they actually tracking content and data and organizational silos and converting these challenges into business drivers that matters? Again, faster time to market, faster time to revenue, faster time to compliance. These are all the business drivers that we're looking at. Let me walk you through a couple of examples of organizations I think are getting it right when it comes to these particular challenges. So Dries mentioned the idea of QUICKSAND and how QUICKSAND is the challenges of content silos that can be transformed. And this can be transformed into faster time to market. So next slide, yeah. Speed and availability have a new norm. So I've been saying that I think we are all hitting the fast forward button when it comes to digital transformation. Customers expect content to be available on demand. Everyone is content binging. Our site traffic is up over 20%. And I know many of you are facing the same in terms of site traffic increasing and people content binging, not just Netflix, but all kinds of content between small bites of content to large ebook type content. And people are expecting that information to be available on demand and across all the channels that they interact with. And if brands can't deliver in a timely fashion, then we know that consumers or constituents will go elsewhere. So marketing leaders need to adapt to these new expectations around speed and availability and make sure that they're enabling their organization, both from a technology standpoint and a content standpoint, to quickly deliver and comply with that always on type of request that people have. So new channels now grow in months, not years. For example, not long ago, we transitioned from the mobile web. Next slide, Kevin. We transitioned to the mobile web, and now mobile web is transitioning into voice web. So we're seeing a lot of different important changes that are happening. And again, being organizations that are able to pivot quickly in terms of getting the right content to the right channel at the right time, those are the organizations, I think, that are going to rise above. And those are the organizations that are really showing a lot of value to their existing customers. Let me walk you through one example. So this is this actually is King Arthur Flour, this is an article that came from Adweek, which I love. They are a longstanding Acquia customer, but actually had a rebranding this week. And so now they are King Arthur Baking because they make more than flour. So apparently while we've all been home during COVID, a lot of us have been baking. And their traffic site went up, their sales have increased, they've had to do new manufacturing facilities even to meet the demand. And so they really have had a switch in their whole digital transformation. They're a 230-year-old New England-based company. The other thing that I think they did tremendously well is they were providing more value to their customers. So I think those brands that are providing additional ways to provide new value add to their existing customers, and those are the ones that are getting it right. So what did they do? They have for those people that are baking and are in a baking crisis, they have a hotline. You can chat, you can email, you can call, and they'll provide support and literally baking support and give you advice if you're in that kind of a jam. So I think a tremendous job. They were very confident in the site traffic that they had in their surges. They were very well supported through Acquia in terms of doing that. And again, a great combination of being able to meet demands of customers and also being able to expand their brand by providing more value. Another example I think there is the MTA, and I won't spend too long on this for the sake of time, but they are a Drupal Cloud Core customer. You know, if you think about it, they have in the New York City transit system, it's the largest transit system in the world. What they did is install digital signage. They have more than 400 stations in New York City, and they were able to power and combine the power of all of their data and provide real-time updates to people so they can track the train schedules and kind of see what's happening there. You can see 400 subway stations. They took 3 months to launch. It was an incredible period of time, and they really did another great example of transformation. Dries also mentioned the labyrinth, or the challenges of data silos. Data silos can transform into faster time to revenue. So we know this, right? We know about brand loyalty. We know that all of our studies say that the customers that would be more loyal to a brand if they showed that the brand really understood them, that they communicated with them, that they knew their preferences. So people are willing to share their data and willing to share information, but of course they want to get something in return. So we know that that brand loyalty is very much tied to that. Let me give you a couple of examples here. So there are some brands, again, I think that are doing a tremendous job, particularly during this time period. One of those is Schwann's. So Schwann's is they're a food delivery service. They've been in business for quite some time, over 70 years. They're in the business of delivering pre-made meals to homes. And of course, they've had a huge surge during the time of COVID. They reacted very quickly. They're an Acquia Marketing Cloud customer, and by using a CDP, they were able to quickly adjust their customer engagement strategy, delivering routes, a segmentation approach, and taking into account things like the hot zones and protection for their workers. So they moved very quickly. They were able to handle very large surges in their customers and prospects and be able to make some great marketing decisions based on that. Another example of a brand I think that's done a tremendous job is Lululemon. So pre-COVID, Lululemon installed the customer data platform, and you can see what kind of an increase that they've had. So they really wanted to be able to tie an in-store experience to a digital experience. They learned a lot more about their customers and prospects. They had 68 million customer records from raw data. And they were able to use the customer data platform and come up with segmentation, come up with what products, what promotions should be offered, and really be able to increase their revenues that you can see across the board. They also were super smart about what they've done during the COVID time. So during the time where they didn't have the storefronts, they made a real conscious effort to move people to digital and provide value add. So again, another way that they provided value add was to do online yoga classes, very much related to their brand, very much helped them kind of increase that traffic flow. And yet at the same time, they know that what they're doing digitally is going to match to when their storefronts open eventually. So a nice combination, I think, between digital and an in-store presence. And the HYDRA, the scary one. The HYDRA and challenges of organizational silos can be transformed, thank you, into faster time to compliance. So with more businesses being done through digital, more organizations need to be ready to scale and grow their revenue through their primary digital channel. As Dries mentioned, with scale and governance to accommodate growth. So scale, growth, security, and the need to have brand consistency. As a marketer, I know how important this is around the world. If you're acquiring new brands, if you are building new organizations within your existing company, coming out with new product lines, and really being able to have the scale and security and governance that you need so that ideally you're avoiding that period of time, which I can say has happened many times to me in my career as a CMO, to say, oh my gosh, where did that site come from? So you're hopefully able to avoid all of that. A couple of great examples of organizations I think that are doing well, one of which is Bayer. So they have 500 plus sites live in 6 months. They were able to get to that point through formerly Acquia Cohesion, which is now Acquia Site Studio. You can see 4 times the increase in speed to market. They just did an incredible job of being able to have a core team of developers. They had shared IT services, and they were able to roll out these sites very, very quickly without having a lot of experience from those folks that were doing it. And they can support a multitude of brands. One other brand, of course, is NBC Sports, able to unparalleled streaming of sports and award-winning programming. So hopefully that will continue soon, and they will be back up and running with that with NBC Sports. But they just, again, they had an unbelievable amount of 3.3 billion total streaming minutes, 2.7 billion live streaming minutes, was visited by 100 million unique visitors. So scale, security, nothing has matched it for them. It's been unbelievable. And the last example I'd say is Acquia ourselves, and I like to call it drinking our own champagne, if you will. And so as a marketer, and as I have my marketing organization, I can relate because I'm also a customer like you. We've always been using, of course, Drupal and Acquia Cloud, which we have done for many, many years since our beginning. I'm about to make the journey to move over to Drupal 9 and using, of course, Site Studio, formerly Cohesion. We've been using our own personalization product and DM product for quite some time for obviously personalization and our digital asset management. Previously we have a Marketo user and for about 7 years, and we've made our leap over to Acquia Campaign Studio, again, formerly Mautic. We're in the process right now of installing our CDP, so we'll be able to take advantage of that, which I'm excited about. So I'm in the midst of a marketing transformation, as I know a lot of you are as well. Happy to share any experiences about that work. 2 things I want to tell you about today. One is we have something exciting. We have, if you are an Acquia CDP customer, we have a Marketing Cloud COVID analysis dashboard that we are rolling out. So if you're a CDP customer right now, you're able to take a look at insights on how COVID has changed your business and how it's impacted you. You can look at your overall business impact. You'll be able to look at the shift in consumer product preferences, how online behaviors have changed in the past few months, how newly acquired customers, what their buying behaviors are, what their retention rates, your preferences. I mean, wouldn't you love to have this? So this is something actually that's available now. You can talk to your account managers about it if you are a current CDP customer. And if you're not and you want to know more about CDP customer, obviously you can talk to your account manager as well. And there's a blog post on our site today if you want to go and read more information on it. And one last thing to share before we open it up for questions, my favorite time of the year, we have made the switch for Acquia Engage, and we will be all digital this year. And these are new dates. It's October 20th to the 21st, 2020. And the nice part about it is you won't have to travel. Everyone from around the world will be able to access and come to Acquia Engage. A lot more info on that, but I wanted to make sure that you got that on your calendars. So at this point, we're going to open it up, turn it to Gigi to open it up for questions.
Fantastic. Well, Dries, Kevin, and Lynn, thank you so much for getting us started. We have 10 minutes or so for questions, so continue to put any questions you have for this group into the chat. Otherwise, I'll get started. So the first question is, and Kevin, I think you began to touch on this, but do you have to use Drupal Cloud or Marketing Cloud as a fully integrated suite, or can you plug in other preferred technologies as well?
So Gigi, great question. And we really do believe in the concept of openness. And so we want you to build your own best of breed stack. So the answer is, if you have other technology that you need to integrate in order to build your digital stack, that is a good thing. Our only and primary goal is to simply unlock the content, unlock the data, and ensure a seamless customer experience across all touch points with wonderful governance, performance, scalability, and compliance. So the answer to your question is you do not need to use the entire suite of applications. You are free to flexibly build your own stack, and that is a good thing. Dries, I don't know if you want to add any additional comments there.
No, it's well said. I mean, I think it actually goes back to our roots. I think the reason why we win actually in the market is because we kind of fit into our customers' existing stacks. That's one of the great things about open and open source and having all of these integration points is like, we want to work within your solution. So the ability to, what's the expression, mix and match is exactly what we are all about.
Great, thank you. So another question coming in is going to be, how is Acquia supporting customers' moves to Drupal 9? And I think we definitely have some experts to help answer that question.
Yeah, I can help. So it depends a little bit on the situation. So if you are on Drupal 8, then the move to Drupal 9 should be easy. And, we can walk you through and help you prepare for that, but it should be relatively easy because basically Drupal 9 is identical to the last version of Drupal 8, minus some deprecated code that was removed. So there, the step is really upgrade to the latest version of Drupal 8 first, and then the migration to Drupal 9 should be easy. If you are on Drupal 7, it's a different story. We are currently working on a migration accelerator that will make it a lot easier than using the sort of out-of-the-box community tools to do a migration from Drupal 7 to Drupal 9. That's currently in an early beta, and we hope to have that generally available later this year. So that's coming in the next few months for you to use as well. So that's how we're helping organizations move from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8 or Drupal 9. Now, if you're not ready to migrate from Drupal 7 to Drupal 9, that's okay too. So we just extended the end of life of Drupal 7. So it's supported for more than 2 years by the community. And then after that, Acquia will be one of the vendors that provide commercial support for Drupal 7. So what that means is that if you're not ready to migrate to Drupal 7, you will be supported for many years to come. And that's okay too, because Drupal is or Drupal 7 is maintained. There may not be a whole lot of innovation on the platform, but it is a well-maintained platform.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If I could add two more things very quickly. For those of you that were unable to attend last week's DrupalCon, there was a wonderful presentation from Angie Byron on the migration accelerator tool that Dries mentioned. So if anyone wants further information on that overview by Angie, where she does a live demonstration of it, the tool, we'd love to follow up with you and bring you fully up to speed on how we're going to assist with the migration from Drupal 7 to Drupal 9 when you are ready.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kevin. Next question is a great one. So much of the Marketing Cloud is newly acquired. How tightly integrated are the products in terms of data exchange, et cetera?
Yeah, I can take that question. So you're right. So part of the Marketing Cloud was built in-house over years, but then just in the last 12 months, we acquired two companies, Agile One and Mautic, and we are integrating these. A lot of parts are already integrated today. Specifically, the data layers are integrated today. So if you have a user profile in, I'll use the old product names to make it a little bit easier. But if you have if you have a user profile in Mautic or Campaign Studio, that user profile will become available in Lift and Agile One as well. So at a data layer, all of the user profiles are being synchronized and replicated. Where we have to do some more work is on the UI integration, and that's in the plans for this year and next year, so that you don't have to switch between different UIs. So that's coming. So it's a process for us to integrate these solutions, but the biggest part and probably the most important part is the integration of the data layer, which is complete, because that will give you the best user profile, and ultimately it's that user profile, the quality of that drives business results. So expect us to keep innovating and keep adding new capabilities, and also expect us to keep making incremental progress in towards integrating all of the products better and better and better. So there's kind of two work streams, if you will. Incremental improvements like new features, capabilities, new machine learning models. And the second work stream is just more and more integration, deeper and deeper integration between the products.
Great. So I know we're almost at time, but maybe we can stick around to answer a few more great questions. Lynn, I think this one would be fantastic for you. So we have a comment coming in that your DXP platform looks really exciting, but it also looks like there is a lot to take advantage of. What is the strategy for getting started and slowly integrating Drupal Cloud and Marketing Cloud functionality?
Well, I think the nice thing about the clouds and the way we've have the products is you actually can, go do a small step process, or you could do kind of a faster process. So I think it depends on where you're at. I would ask you to, probably the best thing to do is start with a conversation with your account manager, and then kind of talk through, okay, what are your short-term requirements? What are your longer-term requirements? Because, if you're looking at something like personalization, for instance, I know that's a big goal that I have. There's kind of a crawl, walk, run process that we can help you with to get to that stage around personalization. And I think there are some nice small wins that you can have quickly with products, and there are some that may be a little bit in the longer term. So I guess I'd say engage with Acquia, engage with our partners, let us help you run through that plan and figuring out, what you want to implement when.
Great. Thank you, Lynn. So maybe time for one more question. Dries, you had briefly hinted at Acquia CMS, and we've had numerous questions coming in asking about that. Could you just speak maybe a little bit more to, where Acquia CMS is on our roadmap, and any more information for customers that are curious?
Sure, yeah. Let's see. So it's something that we plan to release this year. So later in the year, probably Q4, but it's an opinionated version of Drupal. So Most of you may know that we have a version of Drupal called Lightning, which basically takes Drupal, adds custom modules and some, configuration and things like that to make a better out-of-the-box experience for developers. Well, Acquia CMS will extend Lightning with the idea to provide a better experience, not just for developers, but also for marketers. So we'll bundle in even more things, if you will, and we'll do testing on that, quality assurance. We'll take on the burden, if you will, of maintenance and upgrades. And that's what we're building. So stay tuned for more information. Definitely join us at Engage, I would say, if you want to have front row seats to more details about Acquia CMS.
Awesome. Well, I know we are over time, so we're going to start to wrap it up. But a big thank you to Dries, Lynn, and Kevin for coming to give such an exclusive kind of overview of our recent DXP launch. I know personally speaking, the entire Acquia team is really excited about our new platform. In particular, we want to make sure that our customer community can provide feedback, ask questions. So definitely we'll encourage you to engage with your account manager on everything that you've seen today. And if you have any, feedback on new packaging or questions, we would love to hear from you. So thank you for all attending today. As I previously said, you'll have slides and recording of this webinar in your inbox within the next 24 hours.